Okay, so let's head over to the messaging section. This section consists of two different parts. You can create a message and you can manage your messages. Okay. Now there are three types of messages that you can deliver to app users through the platform: inbox messages, email messages, and geo-alerts. So let's talk about each one, starting with inbox messages. So inbox messages are essentially in-app messages or notifications that users can open and view at any time that they have the app open. Messages are stored in the app inbox, and users have the ability to open, read, and delete messages. So let's go ahead and create an inbox message. You can see that I've selected inbox message here, and you've got a number of fields that you simply fill in: a title, subject, the message body. Then you can schedule it either to broadcast it right away, or you can send it on a particular date. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a communication that reinforces or promotes an offer that I set up for this training originally. So let's go ahead and do like a 30 days free Father's Day promo. That's what I'm going to call this one. And the subject will be 30 days free. Alright, and then I'll schedule it to send out on June 13th. And then I'll create the message. And you can see that the message was created successfully. So now, back in the messaging section, you can see that the Manage Messages section has your new message showing there, and it shows the type of message. It's an inbox message. It's scheduled to go out at this time of day, and you've got two actions. You can edit it or you can delete it. So a couple tips on the messages. Your message doesn't have to be connected to a special deal or an offer. However, it can be. So if you put up an offer and then schedule a series of related inbox messages and emails to go out promoting the offer, it's potentially more likely that people will engage your business or claim the offer simply due to higher frequency of communications and use of more communication channels. So when you create a new offer, you'll want to come and reinforce it with some inbox messages and potentially some email messages as well. So keep that in mind. Moving on, let's go ahead and set up an email. So the format is very similar to the inbox message, except you've got a couple of extra fields here. So you've got, a subject, and you've got a from email address, which you have to include. And if you've set up your SMTP server settings as described in a different training, then once you've got your content, the email body, the email subject, and the email from address listed here, then you can schedule the email to go out, either broadcast it right now or send it at some future date. I'm just going to go ahead and send it now. So I'll create the email. Message created successfully, and it's added to the message queue, and it will be sent out as soon as the next cron job executes. Okay, moving on to geo alerts. So a geo alert is a message that gets delivered as a user enters a certain geographic area. So for example, you could set up a geo alert to broadcast as soon as an app user comes within a mile or so of your business. Maybe you want to send a basic welcome message, a special offer, or a coupon. You could even set up a geo alert to broadcast when an app user gets close to a competitor's business. So imagine this. What if you send out a special offer to someone just before they head into a competitor location? The sudden appearance of a coupon might be just enough to make them change their mind and come visit you instead, right? So I've gone ahead and filled out this geo alert with some sample copy. I gave it a title, 30 days free, close to location. Subject, since you were close. Message, the message body you'll want to fill out and make that appropriate to a geo alert. And then put the location in. Now this doesn't have to be your office location. It could be a secondary location, it could be a competitor's location, it can be any arbitrary location that you want to include here. Okay, it just really needs to make sense for your campaign. So in this case, I just placed our location, and make sure always to generate the latitude and longitude. Don't forget to do that. Anytime you change an address, you'll always do that. Okay, so let's talk about the geofence now that we've set our latitude and longitude settings up, and this is kind of where the magic of this section happens. So the geofence is where you're going to configure the distance parameters for when the alert gets triggered for users, and the number of times a user will receive that alert. Okay, so the measurement here is kilometers. You would set your radius in kilometers. Just remember that 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. So if you want to set the geofence for 1 mile around your business, then you would configure it to 1.6 kilometers. So that's what I'm going to do here. And we've got a time threshold here. So the time threshold controls the time that must pass before a user will receive the alert again if they are still within that geofence radius that we set up here. Okay, so once again, if I set this for 10 minutes as an example, then I remain within, my app user remains within that 1.6 kilometer radius of my business, then I will receive that same alert once every 10 minutes. Make sense? And then the next setting down here is the show alert preference setting. So show alert preference is actually going to override the time threshold setting. So if you set this to 1, the app user is only going to see the message one time, regardless of the time threshold setting. So even though I've got this set for 10 minutes time threshold, if I set the show alert to 1, then it should only send me that alert one time if I enter that geofence, if I'm within 1.6 kilometers of my business location. And if you do not want to have the alert preference take effect and only rely on your time threshold settings, just leave it blank, or you can set it to 0 and it will default back to the time threshold settings as your users enter and exit your geofence. And then finally, the alert schedule, so you can set your start date and your end date for your alert to be active. So I'll set it for today, and I'll have it end on, let's say, the 15th. And we'll go ahead and create our alert. And that concludes our section on messaging.